Hello everyone, this is Waterfall Joe and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a recap of an amazing trip my partner and I just got back from. We did 10 days around the Arizona and New Mexico desert. We got to see some amazing landscapes. We took our cameras, of course, and I personally took over 3,700 images. So I'm so excited just to talk more about it, tell you more about this camera setup, the places we went, and show you some images from our trip. Let's dive in. All right, so let me go ahead and just give you guys an overview of everything before we dive in. So my partner Lana and I are both photographers, of course, and we both love to travel. You know, usually once or twice a year, we try to go on a pretty large trip out west if we can, or somewhere where it's really pretty that we haven't really been before. So this year, we went to Arizona and New Mexico. Now, we're both landscape photographers, so of course, our number one thing that we want to do is landscape photography. I know a lot of people like to go on vacations and relax. Our trips are nothing like that. We did over 1,900 miles over the course of 10 days in a rented camper van around Arizona and New Mexico. She loves to kind of pinpoint all these different spots to see, and then we go ahead and go see all of them, or try our best to see as many as we can. So we rented our camper van from Escape Camper Vans. They're a great company. They have locations all around the West. They have a few locations on the East Coast. They're still kind of working their way this way, but mostly in the West. We flew into Phoenix. We Ubered over to the Escape Camper Van pickup, picked up our camper van, and we hit the road. So we left Phoenix. Our plan was to leave Phoenix, go up through New Mexico, travel all around New Mexico, come across northern New Mexico back into Arizona, see some spots around there, and then head back down to Phoenix to fly home 10 days later. So I want to talk about some of the locations that we were really excited to see. So as landscape photographers, there were a few national parks that were very high on our list to see. We visited White Sands National Park, and we also visited Petrified Forest National Park, both of which we have never been to. So those are two new parks checked off our list. We also visited Bandelier National Monument, as well as the Walnut Canyon National Monument. These are amazing places, really unique, and honestly, her and I, we enjoyed Bandelier more than we thought we would. It was kind of an unexpected surprise. We're both huge UFO alien fans, so we of course had to go to the UFO Museum in Roswell, New Mexico. Here, I'll show you the shirt. So we went to the UFO Museum. We went to this amazing structure in the New Mexico desert called the Alien Throne. And if you're into landscape photography, you've probably seen pictures of this place before. It's this amazing rock structure, hoodoo, just in the middle of the desert. And we were very fortunate to have no one else there the entire time. Another really cool spot that we were so excited to go see was the Very Large Array. Now, if you've ever seen the movie Contact, this is kind of featured in that movie as the main place where the activities are happening. Incredible place. I'm a huge souvenir collector, so I ended up getting a lapel pin for my hat. This is a hat that I'm trying to kind of fill with lapel pins. I also got an alien one from Roswell, because of course, and I got a Bandelier National Monument one. I have a whole bunch of lapel pins from all sorts of national parks that we've been to. I'm actually ordering new pin backs for these because these rubber ones fall off and they don't stick to the hat very well. So as soon as I get these, I'm gonna make a post about all of my lapel pins on my hat. I don't know if anyone else does that when they travel, but we're big souvenir fans, and I love wearing my sun hat out in the desert, and covering it in lapel pins is just fun. So now that we've talked about kind of some highlights of our trip, I wanted to start talking about camera equipment and kind of just the trip and showing you some amazing images that we were able to capture on the trip. So the first thing I always like to say is when we go on these trips, I don't really like to vlog at all. I will put plenty of video footage here and I'll be talking about it, but I don't really like to vlog. We are there for a vacation and I am there with my partner, so I really don't want to have my camera out filming, being distracted. I really just want to be there enjoying the location and capturing images. We really had a great time hiking around. Unfortunately for me, I do kind of have a sleeping problem, and on these trips I always end up getting not enough sleep and I'm always pretty tired. But other than that, I'd say we have an excellent time. All right, so let's talk about my camera setup, and I'll also mention what my partner was using. So this was actually my first time going on a big trip like this ever since I switched to Micro Four Thirds about 7 months ago. And I recently got the Wandered Rogue Sling 6-liter bag. So this was kind of my first time taking such a small travel setup on big trips. Of course, back in the day when I shot Nikon, I had this big heavy-duty camera bag, 20 pounds of camera equipment, And, you know, that's just how I did it back then. And at some point I was like, there has to be a better way, you know. So now that I'm shooting Micro Four Thirds, I was really looking forward to traveling with a much smaller setup. And this bag, after returning from the trip, I can say with confidence that I absolutely love this bag. So in here I have my OM1 and I have 3 other lenses in there as well. So right here we have the OM1 with the 12 to 40. We have the 40 to 150 f4. And we have the Panasonic 9mm 1.7. So that's essentially the 3 lenses that I need to cover everything, all fitting inside this case. My girlfriend also managed to fit my 30mm macro in here, and I didn't use it once during the trip. So if I could go back in time, I would have left that lens at home just to give myself a little bit more space. But yeah, all of those cameras and lenses fit easily right back in here. This can go like that. OM1 goes just like that. And then the 9mm has its own little section right over here. Now, if this were not an astrophotography trip, I probably would have left my tripod at home, but I did take my Benro Cyan Bird tripod. I did actually swap the head off to a Mi Photo head. I don't really like the Benro Cyan Bird head. It was too complicated. But for this, I would just connect it right here on the front of the bag. All right, so let's talk photography. Let's talk cameras. Let's talk all that stuff. So that's my camera setup. Let's talk about some photography. So during the trip, I took my OM1 Mark II and those lenses. I took 4 batteries, and I ended up taking over 3,700 photos over the course of 10 days. Now, here's a few notes about the OM1. This thing is an absolute beast for travel. Of course, that's what it's made for. I did notice, maybe it was just me personally, but when we were in the sun and we were shooting a lot, the battery did drain a little faster than I wanted. I was also doing a lot of high-res shooting and live ND shooting, which of course eats up the battery a little bit more. If I was just to take normal photos, I think the battery would have lasted a little bit longer. Overall, I think I was still getting 500-600 shots on a charge, and I was charging in the car when we were driving from location to location, so no issues there from me. My girlfriend is using a Sony a7 III. She has the 16 to 35 G Master, Tamron 28 to 75, the Sony 70 to 200 G Master. She also brought the Tamron 90mm macro and a Laowa 10mm wide angle. So she has a big full frame setup, and she got some lovely images as well. It was kind of fun, you know, we love going on these trips and we go to the same spot, but we shoot two totally different things. And that's kind of the best part about having a partner who's a photographer as well, is we have a totally different vision for these things. Okay, so let's talk about some of my favorite images that I captured and have edited so far. I am recording this only a few days after we got home. I'm still kind of hyped up from the trip, so I wanted to get this video out while I was still fresh in my mind. But I want to show you some of my favorite images so far that I've worked with. So the first image we're going to be working with is this astrophotography image that I captured, and let me give you a little bit more detail about it. So this was taken in the absolute middle of nowhere, New Mexico. I believe we were north of Interstate 40 in western New Mexico, in just a little small town, I think south of Farmington along the highway. We had woken up early for astro, and we were ready to head on to our next location, and we knew that the Milky Way was out. It was amazing. Almost every night of the trip, we were up way too early. Might have been part of my sleeping problem, but we were up way too early. And as you get more comfortable with astrophotography, you will learn where to look, what time to look, and you'll kind of figure out what to look for. So we've both done a ton of astrophotography, so we knew to look south and look for a cloud that wasn't actually a cloud. It's the Milky Way. And while we were out in the New Mexico desert, we could see the Milky Way as clear as day with our eyes. And so we found this road heading south. It was 4 in the morning. There was no cars. And I had this vision of my mind. I would love to get the road lining up directly with the Milky Way. Another cool observation is the road is actually 2 different colors on one side, which is just kind of a nice little touch. So in terms of camera settings, this was shot on the OM1 Mark II with the Panasonic 9mm 1.7. This was a 20-second exposure at ISO 4000 at f1.7. This is a single image. The only editing I did was I used the Lightroom AI denoising, and then of course I played with the colors and highlights and anything. You know, everyone says that Micro Four Thirds isn't good in low light. You can't shoot over ISO 1000. I don't buy that at all. This image was shot at ISO 4000. I am very proud of it. I did use Lightroom AI denoise, and that's all I did. Of course, I play with the colors and all of that, but I didn't use Topaz or any of the other denoising softwares, and I'm very happy with this photo. I am blown away with this camera, and I'm so happy to finally have an astro photo to prove that it really isn't that bad in low light. People over-exaggerate this way too much. Okay, so the next image that I want to talk about is one of my favorite images that I captured at the Alien Throne, also in New Mexico. So we got there early in the day at like noonish, and we didn't really want to go out hiking until the sun had set and the lighting wasn't so harsh. We were originally planning to go out to Alien Throne for Milky Way. So what we did is we got there early, we rested, we hung out in the van until about 6 o'clock when the sun was starting to chill out a little bit and not be so harsh. We had never been to Alien Throne, so the hike there was pretty interesting. Luckily, my girlfriend had all trails downloaded. We were able to find the path there, and it was such an amazing place. You know, the thing about Alien Throne is you always see 100 trillion pictures of this place, and you think it's going to be busy, and maybe it is sometimes, but we were so fortunate to be there, and no one else was there the entire time. We were able to walk around Alien Throne, take it in for ourselves, watch the sunset, get some awesome sun stars, get there for blue hour, and just witness it without any distractions. So this image here was, I shot this also on my Panasonic 9mm wide angle. I was just having a lot of fun just kind of walking around, looking for compositions, looking for sun stars, and just walking around the Alien Throne. So in terms of camera settings, this was shot at ISO 200, f6.3 at 1/50th of a second, handheld. I believe I had taken my polarizer off at this point, so there's no filters or anything on this photo. And I did kind of tweak it a little bit in Lightroom. I did bump up the saturation. I think I brightened it, contrasted it, you know, standard stuff. I might have straightened out the horizon line. But this is one of those photos that I didn't want to do much to it. I really liked the photo. My partner Lana, this is one of her favorite rock structures ever, and it was kind of the basis for our entire trip to go to New Mexico to see Alien Throne, and then we planned all this other stuff around it. So really cool place. If you are a landscape photographer, I highly recommend you check it out. Please use caution. This is BLM land. Respect your land. Don't leave any trash there. It's a very nice place. The next image on this list was taken at a kind of the polar opposite of Alien Throne, and this was taken in Sedona at the market. Hopefully don't mispronounce this, Tlaquepaque. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that, but it's this amazing outdoor market kind of situated right outside of the city limits of Sedona. We had seen pictures of this, and you know, we actually wanted to go see here just as, you know, tourists. We don't wanted to just go check it out and shop a little bit and just see what it is. Now, we arrived about an hour early before it opened, and I had no idea what we were about to get into. This place turned out to be a photography paradise. We got there an hour early. There was only a few people walking around. We ended up telling ourselves we're going to take one camera and one lens, leave the bags in the car. Let's just walk around with one lens. I ended up taking my OM1 Mark II with the 12-40 and just walking around snapping images. And Lana took her A7 III with the 20-75. And we kind of just made ourselves just walk around with one lens. Don't really focus on switching stuff. Just shoot. Just have fun and shoot. And I tell you what, I don't know if I've had so much fun in photography in a long time. It was just such an unexpected surprise to go to this marketplace and be like, yeah, let's shop a little bit. And it turns out I ended up taking over 500 images just walking around this place, enjoying the light, the walls, the environment, the colors. So this image here was this really cool alleyway that I could not stop coming back to when photographing. I would go photograph it, and then I'd go photograph something else, and then I'd walk around and I'd photograph it from the other side, and then I'd go walk through it, and then I'd turn around and photograph it again. For some reason, this place just spoke to me. Now, this particular image, I ended up shooting on the OM1 Mark II with the 12-40, and I put it in high-res mode because I was like, this is such a special place, a special photo. I'm so drawn to it. I want to have a super high-res version of this for me. So I also have a very high-res image for my personal work if I ever want to print it or anything. Okay, in terms of camera settings, this was shot at ISO 200, f8 at 1/100th of a second. And once again, this is the OM1 Mark II with the 12-40mm. I do believe I had a polarizer, and I believe I was using the polarizer just to get a little bit more color out of the sky there. But yeah, for me, I don't know what it was about this place, but it felt like you weren't in the United States. I did research this market, and it was made to kind of replicate a Mexican market down in Mexico. And I really think they did a great job. When I was there, I felt like I had been transported out of Arizona to another part of the world. It was a really cool experience. And of course, once the shops opened, we went and shopped. We got some ice cream. We checked out a Christmas shop. You know, really cool place. Highly recommend it if you're in Sedona. Okay, so the next image I want to talk about is this awesome photo that I was able to capture in White Sands National Park. So White Sands was really big on our list, and the number one thing we really wanted to do was go sledding there. You know, everyone talks about you can go rent a sled and you can sled down the sand dunes, and of course, who doesn't want to do that? So when we got there, it's unfortunate to say that the park is not in the best of shape. The government funding that's being cut to national parks, unfortunately, you can see it at this park. The restrooms are kind of disgusting. Staffing was low. It's a true shame what's happening to our national parks, but luckily the park was open for us to visit regardless. We got there and they said they weren't renting sleds past 3 p.m. and it was like 3:10 p.m., which was a little annoying. So we ended up buying a sled for $25. Of course, we weren't planning to bring this back with us. We were just going to give it to someone. But it's cool, you kind of rent a sled and then you drive through the park and they just say, go wherever. There's no official trails. You can kind of walk the sand dunes, which was a great experience. One of the coolest things about White Sands is the sand is not hot. Even with the sun on it all day, the sand was really easy to walk on barefoot. We took our boots off, put on the slides so we didn't get any sand in the van. Turns out we got a ton of sand in the van, no matter what. It could have been from sledding down the hills. I'll put a little footage here of sledding down the hill. The sledding was great, but we were getting baked in the sun, so we only spent like 20 minutes doing that. Had a really great time here. Also, they had this really cool picnic area, and it was kind of a weird vibe, not in a good way. It was just a fascinating vibe. It's all of these picnic shelters surrounded by the white sand dunes. Wasn't really a lot of other people there. We ended up cooking some hot dogs, just hanging out while the sunlight set. And that is actually where I took this photo. We had our van parked at this picnic area. Alana cooked us some hot dogs and chips, which was so cool. While we were resting, I decided I'm going to go outside and snap some photos of this beautiful white sand dune right behind our van. So I climbed up the sand dune just to get a better view, and I'm not even joking. This was the view from the top of the sand dune, like 5 feet away from the picnic area. This was shot on my OM1 Mark II with the 9mm 1.7. I actually cranked the aperture all the way up to get that sunstar, and I just kind of shot the photo. I really like the lines leading up to the sunstar. For some reason, this photo feels futuristic to me. Maybe it's the whites and the blues. I'm not too sure. It almost felt like an album cover. I don't really know what I was going for with it, but I really liked how it turned out. So in terms of camera settings, once again, this was the OM1 Mark II with the Panasonic 9mm 1.7. My ISO was ISO 200. The f-stop was f16, and this was 1/500th of a second. The photo did turn out a little dark because of the shutter speed, and I did brighten it up in Lightroom a little bit. For me, this photo felt like it needs to be bright, it needs to be vibrant. It's very minimal, and I want it to just pop. You got blues and whites, and I want it to be flashy and bright and crazy looking. I'm very blown away that I was able to get a sunstar without any sort of object in the foreground to cause that sunstar. The Panasonic 9mm continues to blow me away. I used it so much on this trip. I really think they did a great job with that lens, and I'm so happy to own one. I could talk about images for the rest of my life, but I'm going to wrap it up here. We're going to do one more photo, and maybe I'll do another one of these in the future after I edit some more pictures. Once again, I did shoot 3700, and I'm talking about 5 of them. So the last image I want to talk about is this really cool photo I captured on the way to the Very Large Array in New Mexico. This was actually our first day of shooting. We had just arrived the night before. We had woken up from campsite in Arizona, and we were heading to New Mexico on the way to the VLA. We wanted to be there and just do some tours as tourists. You know, we're big space fans, we're big alien fans. The movie Contact takes place at the Very Large Array, so it was very cool to go there and see it. And on the way to the Very Large Array, you know, this is in the middle of nowhere, of course. So on the way to the Very Large Array, we're driving down the road, and there's just this huge grouping of cows just right there. And I was like, well, I have to get a photo of the cow with the Very Large Array behind it. For me, it just felt like a fascinating mix of the American countryside with this amazing futuristic science machine that has helped us discover so many astronomical wonders. It plays such a big role in the movie Contact. As someone who appreciates science, I cannot get over the Very Large Array. It was one of the coolest places we went on our trip. I bought the pin, I bought the shirt, I bought it all. I would love that place, and I would have loved to spend so much more time at the Very Large Array. If you're into science or space at all, if you haven't been there, that is such a special place to go. They do offer a self-guided tour where you can kind of just follow the path. There's good information throughout. You can actually get pretty close to one of the dishes, which is really cool. I was able to capture one of them with this really cool sunstar right behind it. Really awesome place. You know, it's kind of off the beaten path, but that's exactly how it works. It's a radio telescope, so it has to be far away from any sort of interference. They said that the telescopes are so sensitive that if an astronaut had a cell phone and they were orbiting Jupiter, if they turned it on, the satellite would make it sound like it was right next to it. That's how powerful those things are. I'm such a fan of science. I love what they're doing there. I wish I could support them more. So, Very Large Array, very cool array. Go check it out. I really appreciated this photo of the cow with the satellite arrays behind them. It was just kind of a cool roadside photo. So this photo was shot on my OM1 Mark II with the OM40-150 f4 Pro. This was a very sunny day. So this was ISO 200 f6.3 at 1/1600th of a second. Very sunny day, and it doesn't help that that grass kind of brined it up and everything. Everyone, I'm going to wrap up the video there. Let me know down in the comments below. Have you been to any of the locations I've talked about? Are you planning a trip to any of these in the future? Let me know down below. This is Waterfall Joe. I will see you guys in the next video. Take care and have a great day.